Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to JavaScript. So in this class we are going to talk about a really important part of JavaScript, and basically it's as important as the if statement. So it's pretty much the same level of importance, and it's really used in various applications. So it's called loops. And basically loops, what exactly does, it's pretty simple. It's used basically to run a program several times. So let's say, for example, we have a program X and we want to we want to have a certain condition that is respected. So if we, for example, use statements and a certain condition is not respected, we're simply going to print something. In this case, we're going to run the program until the condition is respected. So for loops, we have, basically have two types of loops. We have the for loop as well as the while loop. And in this case, we're going to talk about, in this course, we're going to talk about both. So the first type of loop that we are going to see today is the for loop. And it can be considered as a control flow statement that will iterate a part of a program several times. So if we know the number of possible iterations, it's used if we know the number of possible iterations. And basically it contains three parameters. So the first parameter is right there, so the starting point. So in this case, we have our variable that is called int. So just to show you that it will be an integer. Here it's gonna be a0, so integer means number, just to be sure. So in this case, it's gonna be 0. The second thing will be the last number. So we want to run the program until I is smaller than 3. So as you can see here, we have 3 iterations. So we'll have the first one 0, 1, and 2. So as you can see, 3 iterations. And the last parameter right there simply means by how much we want to increase our I on each iteration. So in other words, let's say, for example, we run this program. What exactly is going to be run? So we're going to run this sentence 3 times. Why? Because in this case, the first iteration, what's going to happen? JavaScript will check out this line of code. So he will see that the variable int is equal to 0. So this is our starting point. Then we want the program to be run until I is smaller than 3. So for all the time that I will be smaller than 3, the program will be run. And finally, on each iteration, we want our I to become greater by 1. So we want to add 1 to our I. So first iteration, I will be equal to 0. We're gonna run this line of code right there, which is just printing text. Then second iteration, I will be equal to 1. We're gonna rerun text again. Third iteration, I will be equal to 2. And once again, we're gonna print text. So as you can see, there won't be another iteration, because once again, in this case, I will be equal to 2. And if I is equal to 3, the problem is that I will no longer be smaller than 3, and it's not gonna work. So this is how works the for loop. So as you can see, 3 iterations. The while loop is a little bit more different, so it's a little bit simpler to understand it. It's used when the number of iteration is unknown. It's also a control flow statement that will run a part of a program on the basis of certain Boolean conditions. In other words, what it will do, it will run a program until this value is true, until this is true. So in this case, once again, we have another variable that is called I, that is called, in this case, it's int. And we have the variable that is I. So here it should be variable. Right now it's equal to 0. So until I is smaller than 3, we want our program to run. Once again, how exactly it's gonna work? So pretty simple. We have only one parameter right there. So until I will be grown up by 1 on each iteration, because we have this little element right there. So I plus plus. This means we want our I to become greater of 1 on each iteration. So let me just explain this basic line of code. So we have our first parameter, I is smaller than 3. So we want our I to be smaller, until our I is smaller than 3. We want to run this line of code. And on each iteration, we want our I to become greater by 1. So we just write down I plus plus. So in this case, this program will simply be run as many times as I is smaller than 3. So in this case, it's going to be run 3 times. But what's possible to do, it's simply modifying this variable right there. So this I right there, it's possible to modify it. And if it's, for example, minus 20, it's going to be run 23 times in this case. So it's going to be run until I is smaller than 3. And on each iteration is going to be grown by 1. So it's possible to make it greater by 2, 3, or whatever you guys want. So as you can see, it's not that complicated to understand, but you will understand a little bit better when we're going to practice it. And don't worry, we will practice it in the next few classes. So that's it for this class, guys. And see you all in our next class.